Mira Layton had always believed that ordinary places carried extraordinary stories, the kind that whispered quietly beneath the surface of everyday life. Each morning, she walked the same path past Mapleton Park, the old brick library, and the bakery whose warm scent floated through the air like a gentle greeting. Her grandmother used to tell her, "Kindness is a seed, Mira. You never know which one might grow into a forest." And those words had stayed with her, glowing softly inside her memory like a lantern. She had dreamed for years of writing a book filled with moments of kindness in the real world, but doubt always crept in, whispering that her dream was too small to matter. Yet one cool October morning, something happened that shifted everything. As she passed the park, she noticed a young boy standing by the pond, holding a broken fishing rod. The tip snapped off completely, and he stared at it with a mix of disappointment and quiet resignation. Mira approached gently and asked if he needed help. The boy explained that the rod had belonged to his father, and he had wanted to try fishing alone that morning. The sadness in his voice made her heart tighten. Without hesitation, she sat with him on a nearby bench and used tape and a metal clip from her tote bag to fix the rod as best she could. When she handed it back, the boy's eyes filled with gratitude. "Nobody usually stops," he said softly. She smiled and told him that sometimes people simply get lost in their own stories and forget to look around. He introduced himself as Oliver, and she walked away feeling as though a tiny seed had been planted inside her, the first whisper of a story worth telling. A week later, Mira found herself on a bench outside the library when an elderly woman wearing a vivid red scarf sat beside her, breathless from walking too far. Mira offered her water, and after a few quiet minutes, the woman shared that her daughter, who had passed away 3 years earlier, used to love libraries and benches like this one. The grief in her voice was gentle but deep. Mira took her hand, and the woman gave her a small, tender smile, saying, "You have a kind presence, dear. My daughter would have liked you." Before leaving, she added, "Keep looking for the kindness in people. The world needs more collectors of moments." Those words sank into Mira's heart like a warm stone, grounding her. As she wrote them in her notebook later that night, she circled them 3 times. A collector of moments. Perhaps her book was not foolish. Perhaps it was necessary. On a rainy Friday, she found a lost wallet outside Percy's bakery. Inside was a driver's license belonging to Marcus Hale, the guitarist who often played music near the town square. She decided to return it the next morning. When she handed it back, Marcus exhaled in relief, pulling out a small, worn drawing his daughter had made, him playing guitar beside her stick figure self. He explained that the drawing kept him going through difficult times, reminding him what mattered. Overwhelmed with gratitude, he played a soft, beautiful melody just for her, and the music felt like sunlight on a cloudy day. In that moment, Mira understood that kindness wasn't just an action. It was an echo that traveled in unexpected ways. But not every day was filled with inspiration. Months into collecting stories, Mira reached a point where doubt smothered her again. Sitting in a cafe with a blank laptop screen, she felt the heaviness of failure pressing on her shoulders. As she prepared to leave, a barista she'd never met approached and offered her a free hot chocolate. "You look like you need something warm today," he said kindly. That small gesture broke something open inside her, reminding her that kindness didn't have to be grand. It simply had to be real. She opened her laptop again and wrote through her struggles, her doubts, her determination. The words flowed until her heart felt lighter. Over the next few months, Mira gathered stories from all corners of town. A mother who donated books to children, a teenager who secretly cleaned the park, a retired nurse who wrote anonymous letters of encouragement, a taxi driver who kept free snacks in his car for passengers going through hard days. A pattern emerged. Kindness was a quiet thread woven through people's lives, binding them together in ways they didn't always see. One afternoon, Mira printed a few of her collected stories and pinned them onto a board outside the library with the title, "Seeds of Kindness, Stories That Touch the Heart." Beneath it, she left a note inviting others to add their own stories. She expected nothing. But by the next morning, the board was filled. By the end of the week, it overflowed. Stories appeared in all kinds of handwriting. Children, retirees, shopkeepers. People paused to read, smiled, wiped tears, or simply stood quietly. The stories weren't glamorous. They were raw, honest, human. One described a stranger helping calm someone having a panic attack in a grocery store. Another spoke of a neighbor who left a flower every Sunday on a doorstep. Another told of a bus driver who waited an extra minute so someone wouldn't miss the last ride home. The library eventually brought out a second and third board. The Small Kindness Project had become a movement. Out of all the notes, one in particular stayed with Mira. Written on a crumpled piece of paper, it said, "When I was 13, someone saved my life with a simple sentence. You matter, even if you don't believe it yet." I never learned her name, but I've carried those words for years. The note wasn't signed. Days passed. Mira couldn't stop thinking about it. One evening, she sat by the fountain as Marcus the guitarist packed up his instrument. When she showed him the note, he studied it, then admitted quietly, "It was me who wrote that. A woman told me those words when I was young. They changed my life. I've been trying to pass them on ever since." Mira felt her heart swell. The full circle of kindness was right in front of her. In that moment, she knew her book wasn't meant to be a polished collection of perfect stories. It needed to be a reflection of real, imperfect lives touched by simple acts of goodness. She finished her manuscript the following week and published Seeds of Kindness soon after. At first, she expected nothing more than a modest reception. But the book traveled farther than she ever dreamed. Teachers used it in classrooms, counselors kept copies in their offices, book clubs discussed it, and strangers sent her letters explaining how the stories rekindled their hope or helped them through dark nights. One message read simply, "Your book saved my life today." Mira cried when she read it, not out of pride, but because it meant the seeds she had gathered were continuing to grow. She visited schools, community centers, and cafes, listening to new stories that people were eager to share. Every new seed of kindness found a place in her notebook, which had become worn from use, but rich with meaning. One spring morning, she returned to Mapleton Park and saw Oliver again, taller now, confidently helping another child tie a fishing line. "You taught me," he said when he saw her. "I'm just passing it on." Those simple words filled Mira with quiet joy. In that moment, she fully understood. Kindness didn't just touch hearts, it transformed them. The seeds she tended had grown into trees, and those trees were shedding more seeds into the world. Months later, she found a note taped to the kindness board at the library. It read, "To whoever keeps collecting these stories, thank you. You made me believe in people again. You made me believe in myself again. Because of you, I'm planting my own seeds now." No signature, no name, just a seed left in her garden of moments. Mira folded the note gently, placed it into her notebook, and smiled with the quiet certainty that the world, despite its noise and shadows, was still full of kindness waiting to be seen. And she would keep looking. She would keep collecting. Because kindness, once planted, never stops growing.